Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Game Chat. This is going to be a Resident Evil Village special, essentially. So here with me today I have Chris.
Hello.
And Jake.
Hi.
Right, so before we get into it, this is going to be, if you're listening to us on audio only, it's going to be one long podcast. We're going to do the spoiler-free part at the start, and then we'll warn you before we're going to move into heavy spoilers. If you're watching on YouTube, they're going to be two separate videos anyway. So let's start. So everyone's history with Resident Evil as a franchise. So Chris, tell everyone that you're a noob.
I'm not that much of a noob.
Expose yourself.
I'm probably more of a noob than most people in this chat, but I'm not that much. Because I played Code Veronica. That was my big game back in the day. I really liked. I did try the originals, but when they first came out, I couldn't get into them because of the tank controls, because I hate it. But somehow I got through Code Veronica. I don't know why. I just like the game. And then...
It's one fan.
This is some heresy. The next one that I played after that was Outbreak, which I really liked, but hey. And I've tried 4. Before we get onto that, I tried 4. And the controls, like, they're okay, but like I'm waiting for the remake now. Now that the remake's happening, and like there's no point me going back and playing 4. But then obviously I've got big on the Resi train with the when they've started doing. They did 7. I enjoyed that. It was okay, but I got on the Resi train when they started doing Resi 2 remake and Resi 3 remake, because I really loved Resi 2 remake. Resi 3 remake was good, but it was just short. And then obviously straight from that into Village, I was hyped. But yeah, that's my history with Resi.
Jake?
I played it when I was younger, and then I kind of went off it around the time that Resident Evil 5 came out, because I just didn't like that game.
That's fair.
Oh, I played Resident Evil 5 as well. I just forgot because it's terrible.
6 I tried to get into, but I only really liked Leon's part. And then 7 I liked, but I didn't think it was a good Resi game.
Agreed
also.
And then the remakes brought me back, pretty much.
Similar train to me then.
Right, so I'm the opposite of this, right? I am hardcore. Like, I have played every one it's possible for me to have played in this country across any sort of console. Like, I'm there, I'm on it. I love Resident Evil so much.
Up to a point, though, Kate. Up to the point where it's not even the problem that it's possible to play in the country, but it's possible for you to play physically.
So yeah, I am. 2 is my favourite of the sort of original. 4, Resident Evil 4, is not only my favourite Resident Evil game, but it's my favourite game ever. I own it on pretty much every console that is possible to own it on. I had it on my iPod Touch. I could play it in school. Oh yeah, that is my favourite. Leon's my favourite video game character ever. Like, yeah, like Resi's a big thing for me. I didn't like 7. I thought it was a game that was made, and then at the last possible moment, someone was like, "We could put Resident Evil on this," and I didn't. It's a good. It's a good game for like that kind of a game, and I can see why people enjoy it. For me, it wasn't enough Resident Evil. So yeah, I wasn't exactly hyped about 8. So anyway, so moving on to 8. You guys have actually physically played it yourself. I couldn't play it because 7 made me really ill with like the motion sickness like thing that came out about it. I was really ill for like 3-4 days, like throwing up, like felt so awful. And 8, they kind of said that they were going to like combat that, and then it was, like a day before it was due to like release to the public, I saw all these tweets about people like, I physically can't play this game, blah blah blah. So I was like, okay, I won't do that. So I watched Chris play it, and I did the best I could to sort of like, I sat really far away. I tried not to look head on, everything, and it still made me feel physically sick for like 2 days straight.
That's proper gutting, that is, because like you're the biggest Resi fan I know, and it's like you can't even play the new
just your
ones.
reaction to Ethan's personality.
I mean, yeah, I don't personally feel like I've missed out.
I mean, you get the gist watching it, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't. 7
It's a shame,
wasn't a game I think I would have enjoyed. Like we watched Corey play it on the VR, and it was hilarious because Corey's scared
He's
of
a little
everything.
bitch.
So that was enjoyable to kind of watch that. Watching 8, like because I didn't really like 7, it wasn't like I felt like I needed to play 8 anyway. So I had a good time watching it. I don't feel like I've missed out by not personally playing it myself. So completion time, it took us like 11 hours.
Yeah, about 11 I think it was just under 11, to be fair.
Jake, do you remember how long?
It was similar. It wasn't over 15.
Did you kind of do everything? Did you look around? Did you solve all the puzzles?
I didn't get all the goats, and I was really annoyed.
I didn't get all the fish either. It really pissed me off. I'm like, where are people finding all these last fish? I fished everything I could find.
I didn't get one of the ingredients, and Nathan was like, "It's literally in a tree." Like as you're walking towards the castle.
Great big
blue bird.
The bird. Yeah, I got the bird.
Blue bird, yeah, we got that.
How the fuck did I not see that bird?
You find a picture with the bird on.
Yeah.
Showing you where it is.
And I still managed to miss it.
So as this is the spoiler-free section, so
There's a bird in the game, guys. Spoilers.
Without go, no, well, there's a bird. People, you've been warned. We said we're going to spoilers. If anyone can't find that bird, all you got to do is look for the little house with the goat in that looks like the Dulac box from Shrek, and then look up to the right, and he's up there. That's how we found it. Because Chris showed the picture, and he was like, "Where's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's that little thing." Because every time we walked past it, we sang the song from Shrek. So, yeah, without going into detail, what's your general thoughts about the game as a whole?
Better than 7.
Agreed.
But that's not hard.
Yeah. No more than that? Is that just...
I enjoyed
the
gameplay more. The gameplay was really good. The story was a bit whack, but we'll get into that.
I'm the kind of I'm a person that I enjoyed 7, but I feel like it was a very good survival horror game and not a very good Resi game. Whereas this, I feel like, isn't a very good survival horror game because I don't think there's much horror in it at all. But it is a very good Resi game in a weird way. Like, it's a weird. They stripped all the horror away and went more action. Like some of the other ones.
Like looking at people's reactions and they're like, "This is so scary. This game is terrifying." Not. Are we playing different games?
Legit.
Like those. Obviously, there's the 4 lords. We're not going to go.
Maybe we're just bad bitches. Maybe that's what it is.
There's 4 lords, and each of them have their own sort of like, if you want to call it like a slice of horror, they all have their own sort of vibe.
I do like that.
2 of the 3 are things that I would say I am quite scared of, and I didn't flinch. There was no jump scare that made me like this. I didn't get none of the jump scares. I never felt like I was on edge. I know I wasn't personally playing it, I was just observing, but like there was 2 things in this game that really, like one of them really, really gets me, the other one I'm kind of not very keen on, and I thought, oh, when we get to that bit, I'm gonna like, this is when it's gonna get scary for me, and it really didn't.
Yeah, like
there's only one bit of the game that I felt like uncomfortable playing, and it's not because I found it scary. But I can't say what it is without spoiling any of the game. The bit with the big thing that follows you.
Oh yeah.
And it makes really just. I don't like the noise that thing makes anyway. I find it really irritating.
Same.
I know. So let's go for like a basic overview of the game. So everyone is saying this is the closest Resident Evil game to Resident Evil 4, a love letter for Resident Evil 4, etc., etc. Now, I've lost count of how many times I've played Resident Evil 4, so I can tell you now, yes, it is very similar to Resident Evil 4. There's a lot of mechanics and systems. So just quickly, like, so there's obviously you can barricade yourself in to kind of give you some protection, which is more useful in this one, I would say, than it is in 4, because you
100%.
kind of do it at the start of 4. There's sort of a few ways you can go about triggering the first cutscene where everyone goes off to play bingo, and one of them is you can push like the barricades to the door. But in this one, it actually serves like a practical. I think it's a very good mechanic, especially for some of the more tougher enemies.
Hmm.
You say that, I didn't use it that much. I didn't think. Not as much as I probably should have.
Yeah. The typewriters are back, which is cool. Like, nice little nod. Shooting the crows to get items Resident Evil 4 all over. The Duke serves as the merchant, and he has a lot of the same systems. So finding the treasures, combining the treasures, upgrading your guns. The briefcase makes a return. I love the briefcase. I love organising my briefcase.
The ever-growing briefcase.
A tidy briefcase is a happy briefcase, people. Keep that briefcase tidy. It does add some new things, which is quite interesting. So hunting, we were just talking about. Jake, tell us about your goats. Did you enjoy the hunting mechanic?
I liked it. I liked the little... I'd have liked to have had more dishes to cook, but that's just because I'm a food nerd. I liked hunting the goat statues. That was fun.
Yeah.
I didn't find them all though, which is sad.
No, never did I. I like the hunting, but I wasn't happy about killing goats. I'm a big fan of goats. I like goats. And I'm not happy to kill
I
them.
did a goat, to be fair.
I have eaten goat. Sorry, Chris. Upgrading your base stats, I think, is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Crafting as well. Quite a new big thing.
That new, or has that been in previous Resi games?
You can craft, but like
not like on the fly. Really.
And I like the way your components kind of, they don't take up space in the briefcase until you actually make the.
That was a
thing.
lifesaver.
Yeah, I like that. That's clever.
Good job, really. Yeah, it's true.
Interesting that you pick up the herbs, but you don't actually physically eat the herbs. You turn them into like a fluid.
Yeah.
Kind of sad because herbs are quite a staple of Resi. Kind of sad to see them being like moved out.
Was chem fluid a thing in previous games? I feel like it was in 7, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
The hunting, I was like getting everything else, like killing all like the pigs and the goats and the chickens were fun, but like the fish, like trying to kill a fish with a knife was not fun, in my opinion. Why can't
you just stop them with a handgun?
Waste of ammo, man.
Everyone knows that's what the 5 bombs are for, Chris.
Yeah, it's true. People do dynamite fish. I mean, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I like the cooking. I didn't get them all. I missed one.
We were one off, weren't we?
Yeah.
We literally like one fish off.
Nathan had that issue.
I don't think you can get them all.
Fish.
Yeah, I don't think you can get them all. I think you have to choose. But
yeah.
Oh well. I know you can't upgrade all your guns. I know that much. Impossible to do so.
So, the village as a whole being the hub, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that part.
But having a hub is never really a sort of like, I suppose in certain games you have areas that you always come back to. So like for like Resident Evil 2, the main police foyer, like the entrance hall, you kind of always come back there, don't you? And
yeah.
7, I suppose, because you're in the house, you're always constantly backtracking. But to actually have the village sort of change in some way, or like you can further explore.
Yeah,
well, that was pretty cool. I enjoyed that. I thought that was an interesting mechanic. I thought the village would kind of play a bigger part in it.
Yeah.
Like I thought I thought instead of just like stuff to collect, that was just basically like ammo and whatever. I thought there'd be a bit more to sort of learn from there. I thought it'd be a bit more story based, but it kind of wasn't.
Yeah, I feel like very empty also. I mean, for reasons, but
yeah,
like, yeah, I feel like it'd be more.
I'd have liked to have seen more villagers.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like we saw, like what 5? I mean, there's the reasons for them not being there, but like I would have liked to see more and interact with more people.
Content for the villagers, because we've seen in trailers and reels cutscenes and stills that didn't actually turn up in the game.
Yeah, villagers doing more. Like,
Yeah,
outside of the one building you see them in.
yeah.
So it's either cut content or it's going to be some sort of DLC, which is quite possible. Like,
I do like the inclusion of the map system where if you've finished in it completely, it turns blue. If there's something to get there, it's still red.
I like
Yeah.
that.
I like to collect everything. I like to know if a place is done. So I really do like that.
But I do hate it when someone's red and you just can't.
You can't find it. It's
Yeah.
legit. It's so annoying. Or when something gets locked because of story reasons and you can never get back in there again, and it just happens to be that's the only room that you've missed something from. It was really annoying.
It really was, because every time the village changed, we went back there like, they're gonna
I'll
let
get
us
in.
there. No, they didn't. Something that we never actually really used. Did you use it, Jake? Did you use the flour? You know, you can like slash the bags of flour and it kind of makes like a smoke screen. Did you use that mechanic?
I did it accidentally once.
See, I did it near the start of the
It
game.
lasts about 0.2 seconds. So
Fair enough.
I did it near the start of the game, and it didn't really do much to the enemies because I was trying to. My plan was because
it's
I was
more inconvenient for you than the
Yeah.
enemies.
because I was outnumbered by the enemies in this room. My plan was to slash the flour because there was stuff I needed to grab in the room, but I didn't know whether I was going to be able to get back in the room afterwards. So I tried to go around them to grab it after slashing the stuff, and they still could see me. So I feel like it didn't work that well.
They
An
tried.
interesting. I don't know if it's so. Using the knife to smash the boxes, you didn't have to actually equip with a knife.
I like that.
I still did though,
It's ingrained in
like
me.
many times. Like I'm like, oh, I don't need to do this.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Although sometimes I pressed X to use the knife and he'd just miss.
Yeah.
Go, and I'm like,
yeah, you're right next
Ethan,
to
are
it.
you okay?
You're right next to it, Ethan.
Ethan, are you okay, hun? Yeah. So, Chris, you thought there was quite varied enemies.
Yeah, I think, especially compared to 7, where there was one type of enemy, pretty much.
yeah, that's true.
Like in terms of like
The dude
grunts
bros.
anyway,
That's what
and
me
not
and Corey called
bosses.
them, the dude bros.
But this, I feel like there was quite a lot of variety between. I mean, like there's werewolves. We know that because of the demos. I'm not going to list too many of them, but there was like there's lichens, there's zombie hag things. There's a bunch of different. There's at least I count at least 5 or 6 different types of enemies, which is. I enjoyed that. I like a little bit of variety because if you're just taking down the same things, it gets boring.
There is certain sections where I would. We all know there's 4 lords, and the 4 lords have their own sections, and yet there's some that don't have enemies.
Yeah.
And that's really weird.
Yeah.
Because you think, like, depending on where you are, who you're currently dealing with, the enemies would change. Like, there would be completely different enemy types. But on the basis, like you said, you have, like, the lichens, you have the flying enemies. We've already seen them in trailers and stuff. And you have, like, the basic, the ones from the demo, the ones that live in, like, the basement, like, the thrall type enemies. And then obviously there's some more, like we won't go into them now, but
I like the flying ones because they remind me of Gremlins too. You know, the flying gremlin when he's like going at that person and they put him in the cement. It reminded me of that.
You thought they were very bad. I wasn't feeling that.
No.
I wasn't really feeling it. I thought it was just kind of like it got very samey, and I think certain enemies like the lichens at the start. They're kind of intimidating because obviously, like, they're quite big. They can take a lot of shots. So at the start, it's overwhelming. But then when you come back sort of towards the end of the game and you're OP and you've got all these guns, they become irritating because there's one section where they just throw them at you.
Yeah, they don't. That's not like warned. Like you have to get through the section because I normally went through most sections trying to kill everybody, whereas this section you can't because they just keep spawning if you don't move on. And I didn't know that. It took me ages.
But it's like, because that point in the game, or we were so OP, we had like a load of upgrades, we had a load of upgraded guns. it just made that bit feel annoying.
Yeah.
It was a hindrance when we knew we were like kind of so close to the end. It was that was the one part of the game I was like, this bit is just, it's not necessary.
What I did like in terms of variety was like the Lycans actually seemed to have a brain and would like flank you and stuff, whereas like the Brawl things wouldn't. They just come at you, and like same with the bat things. Like they've all got they all have different brains,
but headshots don't work.
Yeah, legit.
But like I liked how they seem to all act differently, which I think is cool. I like that.
There's some optional boss fights.
Yeah.
There's some optional puzzles as well.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. I love the puzzles. I'm big on the puzzles. So that was interesting.
I've got to speak about one of the optional boss fights, but I'll get into it in spoilers.
Is it the guy that fell from the tree above the grave?
No,
okay. Because we went to fight that guy.
Twice.
And he literally took everything we had. So we reloaded.
I was playing on Scribblood mode, so it's just
came back and tried to kill him again. And they're like, it's a good idea because he was I say that it's a bit cheeky because he kind of counts as optional, but he technically blocks a puzzle.
Yeah, but the puzzle's also optional.
Yeah,
That's
but
why.
what if like you're a big puzzle gamer and you love that side of the game, but you're not really about the combat?
Yeah,
that's a bit cheeky for him to be there. But yeah, so like you said, there's lots of stuff to I say lots. There's more exploration than 7. There's some secrets to find. There's some really cool things to find if you're on it. And we found something that we were really happy to find.
I did like the fact that when you went back to the village, you can explore the village, but you can explore like around it as well. And you can just go off the beaten path and go literally explore to your heart's content up to a certain point where obviously it blocks you from going to certain other places. But like the fact that it gives you free reign for a bit.
Yeah,
just to like explore, like I really like that because like most Resi games, the ones I've played, it's pretty linear. You're backtracking, but you're not like it's always pushing you towards a certain way. Whereas I felt in having these moments in between linear story moments just to explore really cool. I like that.
I think the treasures were a bit underwhelming that you could find. But I think that's just because I was playing Tomb Raider before. Saw the artifacts and that really varied, and here it's like, oh look, another gold cup. Wow.
An avocado.
Thanks.
Sometimes they mix it up and they're like, there's a plate. It's like,
Is there a gold plate?
Oh,
gold statue. Not gold.
That's always been like a state, like the treasures, like same as in Resi 4, like. You know, it's the same sort of thing. It's stuff they would have lying around.
Jewels. Yeah, a lot of jewels.
Shooting the jewels from the ceiling. Chris had walked past somewhere, like.
I'm glad she had Kate watching.
He got their back because there was a shiny in the roof, and he was like, "How did you see that?" It's like, because I've played Resident Evil 4 about 10,000 times. Like, I just know. So, moving on from all sort of the overview, let's talk about, in the least spoilery way possible, Ethan and his gameplay.
Yeah, Ethan's
I don't like the first-person protagonist.
Me either.
I can't connect with it. It's annoying to play because I don't like playing in first person.
Me either.
I don't know why I said that like I was from New Jersey and like first Poison.
Where's Poison?
Yeah, I'd prefer it if it was just annoying.
I get what they're trying to go for with it, and I feel like it worked in 7 because obviously they're going for the more personal thing, like you feel like you're there, and it works in 7 because 7 has the horror to back it up, to kind of give the whole it's going to affect you more because you're seeing it as though it's you. You know what I mean? Whereas in this one, because it's more action based, I feel like it's not really needed to be first person.
I also don't like the scenes where they do try
and cover him up
in first person.
That's what I was
they just blow his face.
It's like oh no,
please switch. It's
don't
like what?
There's this is not a spoiler. In the first part of the game, you can see I want to say it's like a wedding photo between him and Mia.
Yeah. He's in none of them.
Her like veil is like obscuring his face, and it's just like, just give him a face.
What do you think it's like the whole wedding album? You're going through it and you're like, Ethan's going to be in one of these, like, that's not covered his face.
But the worst part is, like, they've programmed the game to give him a face.
Yeah.
And then they've programmed it more to cover him up. Like,
yeah. It is strange. I just don't like him as a character, though.
In 7, I read this whole thing, and it was like, they're going for the unknown character because they said playing as Leon and Chris, and like they said all those characters have a rep and they've been through stuff, and they're like an established sort of like, so Chris was a star, Leon's a secret agent,
kick-ass,
and they were like they didn't want you to have that sort of mindset that you were like you were going to get good from the start. They wanted to give you like an everyday man, and they wanted to give you like, you know, so it would feel more scary.
That's Silent Hilling it.
I just don't feel that, because at the end of the day, everything that any of the Resident Evil protagonists have achieved, it was you, because you were holding the controller.
Yeah.
So I
kind of get what they were going for. I don't think it necessarily works, especially in this game.
It didn't for me, and so I just don't. It's on you.
He's also got no personality apart from when he occasionally says something savage.
Yeah, like literally, like
it's always out of nowhere.
He is better in this game than he was in 7, because 7 he reacted to nothing, no matter how crazy the shit was.
When Marguerite turned into like that creature, and he's just like, that's
special.
You know, I don't like Ethan as a character. Don't at me. I'm sorry. I don't like him. I'm sorry.
But
most people don't, as far as I can tell.
But like, we were playing this. I remember messaging you, Jake, and I was like, Ethan's whole jam in this game is that he's had enough.
Yeah.
He's had enough of everyone and everything, and no matter what any of the enemies, like, all the smack talk they give you, all the things that how you're going to do, is just like, and what? Do it. See if I care. Like, literally, like, he's so done. And I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Yeah, like,
that was really good.
The whole, like, YOLO kind of, like,
he's had enough
attitude they gave him.
He's had enough. He doesn't care. He just wants to go home. Like, that, like, I like that. And I saw it in parts, and I thought, oh, yeah, that's top band. But it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
It's like, still boring, though. That's like, he has these moments where you're like, that's quite funny. But like, as a character, I feel like with characters like Leon, Chris, Claire, Jill, you feel like you get to know those characters.
Leon would have been living in Castle Demetrius.
Oh, he would have.
He would have had like comebacks. He would have had all the jokes. He would have trolled them ladies. I would love to have seen that. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, Leon's got like that personality, and I mean, Chris is okay, I guess. Like, he's there, he punches boulders.
We can't talk about why we like him yet. He's in the game. You know, that's known.
Yeah, he's in the game. It is a very yes.
He's good in this one. I like him. I like his personality, and I like his design. His design's way better than the 7 one.
I like his little coat.
Yeah,
the coat that you can see his rippling muscles through.
It's called fashion, Chris. Look it up.
Yeah, but like his muscles are like bulging out the coat. It's weird. But
he's got
cool.
the boulder punching hand strong.
Legit.
But yeah, like, Ethan's just a little bit short of like having that, like, just that little bit more, like a little bit more of a push from him. You could have like rallied for him, but it's just, like you said, there's something missing. But in terms of gameplay, we are supposed to believe that he read a book, and he's a little bit more ready for the events that unfold. Did anyone?
The thing is, when's this supposed to be set? You would have thought it at least would have been like a YouTube video or something. You can't read the book to learn things these days. it's always videos.
The book isn't it?
Yeah, we know it is. It is.
Fans.
It is.
So look out for that. But yeah, look, they said like he was more trained. Obviously, I didn't physically play the game, so I can't, like, with the controls. I don't suppose if you remember playing 7.
They are better controls.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like I feel like he was more shaky in 7. But then again, you know,
he did have his hand chopped off in like the first like 2 seconds of the game.
Yeah, but
by his wife.
But I don't know. It's just like the controls feel a lot better. they're not great. Like in terms of like when it comes to first-person shooters, which is basically what this is, it's probably one of the worst control systems. Like I don't like it. Like it doesn't control well. But it's serviceable much more than
Ooh,
7
do you know
was.
what I hated?
So,
I really hated it. The haptic feedback on the PlayStation.
yeah, I was gonna bring this up.
Why
Actually.
is it
I have an interesting story about
on
this.
the fucking aim and
Yeah,
not the trigger?
and not the
that
trigger.
Makes no sense.
The way I see it, like I suppose it was sometimes on the trigger, which also annoyed me. But like
Sometimes, but not all the time.
Yeah, like I feel like it was on the shotgun for that aim because the shotgun's going to be heavier than the pistol or something like that. I think that's what they were going for. It didn't really work for me. And sometimes the fact that your weapon would jam, sometimes like the trigger.
Yeah.
So you have to press it harder, which also like what annoy. The worst thing about this, I've broke another controller playing Resi. Like 2 of my controllers since I had my PS5, the adaptive triggers have broke on them. 2 of them. I had to send 2 controllers back now since November. A joke. Like they're gonna make these really cool features. Like because when it works in a game, I don't think it worked in this one personally, but when it works in a game, it's really good. But
Yeah.
I don't want to be using it if it's going to break my controller.
I can't really
Every time.
speak because the only game I think I've played with haptic feedback is the cute little Astrobots game.
Yeah, that one does it well. To be fair, that works. That does.
But
it
in
well.
my defence, it was because my PlayStation was broken. So
6 now.
I mean, yeah, it's fixed now. But like, yeah, PlayStation 4. I think us as a group, we're not having a good time with our PlayStation 5s. There's a lot going wrong with them. There's a lot
Mine's
of
just
things.
making noise. I'm lucky that mine just makes noise.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on. This isn't a
haptic feedback. Not great. Not really needed. It's cool later on when you get some better guns.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was better used, but like with the basic guns you get early on, it's not. It's just more annoying than anything. Doesn't help with your aim either.
No.
Is there anything in particular like you liked? Like gameplay wise with Ethan, like I mean,
talking about guns, there's this. I don't know whether it's a weird glitch, but me and Kate found this pretty hilarious. When you swap between the shotgun and the pistol, it doesn't put the one gun away before it gets the other one out, so it just looks like his arms are like swapping, but it's like both. He's got like 4 arms at one point, if you can like pause it at the right point. It's like they need to delay that a bit. But like, I feel like they're trying to make it so you can get your guns out quick, but it did look really weird, like animated.
The blocking feature.
Mm.
How did you feel about that?
Never really used it.
I like it, but it
Not
didn't
really.
make sense. Like, how can I block certain attacks?
How do I block this giant axe?
Yeah, like
okay.
Someone's running at you with like a chainsaw, and you're doing that. It's not gonna do a lot.
It's not something like I don't know. Like I played one match of Mercenaries, and I was pressing the buttons like I was playing Resi 4. Like I was pushing a button, like why is my knife not coming out? Or, like why am I not doing this? So like I haven't played it enough to kind of like to comment. The blocking, I don't block in games. I'm one of those persons. I'll just take the hit. I just can't be bothered with doing all that.
I think
it's who I am as a person. But like I think it's necessary in this game when you're getting overwhelmed.
Yeah, but it doesn't work.
I only blocked in the factory area, and that's it.
There was one point where I was getting overwhelmed by werewolves, and I tried to do it, and you know the bit where you block and then you kick them afterwards.
Yeah.
It never worked for me. Like it worked twice out of like the many times I tried to do it, and it was just and then it really annoyed me because the game, because obviously I'm failing at doing it, the game kept coming up saying press L1 again to kick them back and something. I know, I'm trying. It's just not working.
The game burnt Chris so super hard. We've been playing this game for like, it must have been like 6 hours, and Chris hadn't died once. And he died for the first time, and the game's like, you can turn it down, turn it to easy mode. You can just drop the difficulty to easy mode, like calm down, bro.
I died once, and it was in a big optional boss battle where I just used all my ammo and ran out.
Absolutely. Like, paying for our entire life because we died once.
Like,
it was really overly harsh. Yeah, the gameplay wise is not really much Like,
I don't hate it. I didn't hate the gameplay. The gameplay was fun. I liked the loop of collecting stuff, doing puzzles, shooting stuff, like collecting more ammo, checking every single drawer ever. Like, that's the typical Resi stuff I enjoy. I enjoy puzzles and stuff like that. Like,
the puzzles were really good on this, but also,
however,
I told them too quick. Like, literally, Chris had walking into an area, and I'm like, you got to do this, or like, like. There was like the one where you got to set things on fire, and Chris was like, "How do I set this thing on fire?" And I was like, "This is how you do it."
Yeah.
And it's like if you're hardcore into Resi and you've played them all, like they are just Resi puzzles.
I like the things where you have to set them on fire, and it's like you have to like swing the thing with the flames on it into the things to set them on fire, and it's like most people I've seen do it, like they're doing it with a knife, where there's me trying to do it with my head.
I did it with the gun. I did everything with the gun.
I just shoot it. That's probably a lot. Yeah.
The one puzzle that I really, really, really hated, and I was this close to just uninstalling the whole last game, was the ball puzzle in the factory.
Oh god!
Drove me to insanity. Every time I'd almost done it. You know the like ball puzzles, the labyrinths, or whatever they're called.
Oh, did I get the factory one? I can't remember.
The factory one was just. You'd like tilt it, and like a cog would turn around and just knock your ball off the edge, and you'd have to go back to the beginning. I'd be like,
yeah, so, some of them annoyed me because it's like when you're tilting it, but you can't see where the ball is.
Yeah,
and
it's like,
you can turn the table, but it just doesn't help.
Another thing that like is stupid, but also made me laugh, like so certain items. Like treasures and collectibles and whatever are huge.
Yeah.
They are huge. They're made of stone. They're made of like crystal. And Ethan just picks them up and just puts them in his back pocket and just carries on. And I'm like,
doesn't even have a bag. Which makes sense.
Stone
pillar. Like,
makes sense if you had a bag.
Like everyone like memed about Leon's briefcase in 4, but like off the top of my head, I can't think of any treasure that Leon picks up in 4 that's like
would not fit in a briefcase.
Yeah, like there's like tankers and there's like no, but like yeah, but that like you could fit that in a briefcase. I'm talking about when Ethan picks up like
briefcase.
A stone
like,
pillar.
Yeah, like stuff like that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it is a bit weird. Yeah. I suppose that's one of those things that you just got to kind of ignore because you know it's a video game.
Crystallized remains of a lichen. Like.
Did you like the Duke? A lot of people are.
I really like the Duke. I think his character design's really cool.
Oh no,
I don't like his belly button though.
Yeah,
he needs to put his belly.
Vibes.
He needs to put his belly button away.
He's creepy. He's creepy. I don't really like him. He's a bit creepy, but people are saying like he's a bro. I mean,
he gives me ice cream man in the like back of a school vibe. It's just not good.
Right. Okay.
How does he get anywhere?
That's like the Ready 4 merchant though.
No, but he's like not massive. Like this Duke's in rooms which doesn't have doors big enough for him. Like, how's he getting up? How's he getting in those rooms? Does he like shrink down or something?
Like he has that like air of mystery about him.
Yeah. I mean, even when there's you get a point where you get to ask him and he doesn't say anything.
I like how Ethan's got the balls to ask him, and he's just like, I don't even fucking know myself, to be fair. Like,
one thing I have to say about this game is like it is very visually stunning. Like, it's the RE engine, which doesn't stand for Resident Evil Engine, which is mad. It stands for Reach for the Moon Engine, which is just fucking stupid. Like,
but the logo is the hand reach.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
But when the first game you bring it out with is a Resident Evil game, you just assume Resident Evil Engine, don't you? But it's just a weird thing. That's Capcom for you. But I think it looked really, really good. Like the lighting in this game is fucking stunning, especially with the ray tracing on.
The baby from Twilight.
Crazy. It's what's her name? Renette.
Ray tracing.
It is just. It looks mental, and I'm. Like sometimes when you got close to like some of the rocky things, like you can tell the textures are a bit flat. But like other than that, like it's one of the better looking games that I've played, and games are starting to look next gen now.
Yeah,
they get in there. But yeah, graphics were cool.
So again, difficult to do, but talking as spoiler free as we can. So the antagonists, the four lords, obviously have their own sort of slice of horror with their levels and their different environments and how things kind of work differently when you're with them to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So let's talk obviously about the lady herself, Lady Dimitris. We can talk a bit more about her because she's
in
very
the demo,
She was
and
the best
everybody. If you've been like even had like a, I am Resi from afar. Like what this. There's no way you're on the internet and not seeing
It
Lady
was
D.
Capcom's entire advertising strategy
Legit.
for the game.
It worked though. Like 3 million copies in 2 days.
True.
Everyone wanted to get that simp card stamped, and I guess it worked for them.
I was stamped.
So her castle, from all the demos, we saw it quite a lot. Obviously, we won't go into too much spoilers because I know there's people out there that don't even play the demos because they don't want to know.
Yeah.
But her area, her level, however you want to, felt the most like Resident Evil to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
I really enjoyed it visually. It looked amazing.
Like the amount of screenshots I took in the castle is ridiculous because I just love the lighting. That's one of the things in the engine.
Not even so simping screenshots like
didn't take any of those really. I didn't like the photo mode very well, very much. To be fair.
I really enjoyed it. I liked the daughters, the whole vibe of the sort of story surrounding that area. I really liked it.
The game could have just been about her.
To be fair, it could have.
Should have been better. Probably would have been. I have a lot to say about these lords and their sections. Like,
so
yeah,
and then so again, like, there's not really much to say about that because it was highly publicized. There was loads of leaks. Like, it's everywhere. It's probably the best part of the game.
My one wish about that section is that
it lasted longer.
Well, like all the sections out of the 4, like I wish they all lasted longer and we got longer with those characters. The daughters, I wish were a lot different from more different from each other. Like they were all basically the same boss battle, but in a different area, and it's just like, well, I wish you were a little bit like something to differentiate in between them more because I still don't know all 3 of their names.
Cassandra, Bella.
Oh, okay.
No, Bella, Cassandra, Bella, and
like Daniela or something.
That's it. That is it.
But
like, I couldn't tell you which one's which.
They're my favourites from the game, and I really would like to know more about them. I would like to see more of them. They're really cool. I like the design. I like their like when they taunt you and stuff. Like, they're really cool characters. I really
some
like
of the stuff they say is graphic. Very graphic.
But so moving on to the second area, it's the Puppet Master, I think is what she's known as.
Everyone's seen the creepy puppet.
Yeah. The puppet is top bants. I really like the puppet now. I am petrified of dolls. I can't have like when I was a kid, I couldn't play with baby dolls. I didn't have.
They are creepy as well, to be fair.
That puppet is lit, and I would really like one.
Please don't get one. I don't want to live with the puppet.
I'm really sad that the Puppet Master herself was not a bigger deal. Like, we did. If you read the notes and stuff, you get a bit more background on her. But she was really underdeveloped.
I think you interact with a lot.
Yeah, it's really sad. And I think her story and what her jam, like what she does, that's
really interesting.
Really interesting. I'm sad that we didn't really get more about her. Her section seems, because there's not really any enemies to fight, it seems like it just comes and goes too quick.
Yeah.
That section, for me, was... Yeah, no, it was the biggest disappointment of the game because, like, it started off promising. Like, I was like,
this is going to... potential to be interesting.
This is going to be some, like, PT type stuff. And it's disappointed at every turn when I was playing it. I was like, oh, that could have been better. That could have been scarier. Like, I feel like they held back with the scares on that.
Maybe, yeah.
Which is a shame, really. Because, like, the thing is, though, there's people I know, like, I'm sure you won't mind me calling this out, Brian's playing it currently, and he's talking about that section. And he has a phobia of what's in that section.
Yeah.
So I can imagine that's terrifying for him. You know what I mean? Like, but for me, I don't like what's in that section very much anyway. Like, that's generally something I dislike anyway. But like, that didn't bother me that much.
Yeah, same.
But I can imagine someone with phobia, it would absolutely terrify, and I can't imagine if that was worse. That would have been even worse for him. So it's one of them where it's like, I suppose it depends what you're scared of and how sensitive you are to that scare, I guess.
The next area, the Monroe, the sort of like mutated fish man. Now, anything to do with the water petrifies me.
He was so boring.
Like, to the point where I can't watch, I can't look, I can't watch any movies that have got anything to do with being under the water. I can't play game sections that have got any like levels under the water. I can't do it. Like, playing like Resi 4, obviously there's that fight in the water, and like, it's hard for me. Even like however many times I've played it, like I'm getting there and I'm getting on the boat and my heart's bumping and I'm like, okay, you can do this, you've done it before. So this was the part for me I was thinking would like petrify me, and it was so boring. There was nothing to do there. It wasn't interesting visually. He was a sympathetic character, I would say. Like, I felt bad for him.
Yeah.
But just there was no enemies other than him.
Yeah.
Like it was bored. Like, he was again like.
I feel like this is the section where they tried to like play homage to 4,
Resi 4.
and it just didn't.
It felt like the D-Tech to the A level.
Yeah, I was just like going through it, and I'm like, just me walking around dodging sea monster. Like, you know what I mean? It's like
everyone keeps saying like this about Resident Evil 4, and it's heavily inspired by Resident Evil 4. For me, it's like they've tried to shoehorn bits from Resi 4 into their, like, they had a story, they had an idea, and instead of thinking, okay, we want to be inspired by Resident Evil 4, they've kind of wrote their own story and then put like, oh, we can just like put this will go with this bit, this part of Resident Evil 4 will go with this bit.
Yeah.
It's not like, I don't feel like the Lords and their sections, they don't flow. And going back to the village hub, it's very much a case of, you've done this, go back to the hub, now you're doing that. It's very disjointed. They don't feel like, to me, the story doesn't flow for me. And yeah, like, I can see where they've taken parts of Resident Evil 4 and tried to shove it in this. I wouldn't say it's done successfully. But then again, that's probably me, because I hold that game into I agree. I'm like, I can't see it as like, oh, this is inspired. I'm like, they took that from Resi 4.
I feel like they could have got there with these sections, but I feel like the problem with these sections, you don't get long enough with them, in my opinion.
The Lords, apart from Lady D, and even her, like,
even her,
you only think that you know the most about her because she's the one that Capcom have been shoving down. You're like, everywhere you go, everyone's talking about her.
Yeah.
You got her in the forefront of your mind. Yeah, she's cool. She looks cool. Her design's cool. She's a good character.
Yeah.
But like, even she's not developed.
I've got something to say about the 4 Lords, but I can't say it without.
Yeah. So you move on to the last Lord, Heisenberg. Probably
he has kind of 2 sections there.
He's probably the most developed of the Lords.
Yeah, he has most personality. He's interesting. His jam, like, his whole thing's interesting. His section is, I would say, feels the most out there. It's quite, I would say, like, modern horror. For me, like, that and the castle are my favourite sections.
Yeah.
Because the castle, obviously, Lady D, and it reminds me of just, I like that kind of gothic style. And then
me and Nathan just like, it just looks like Van Helsing and we were living.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then like the later.
It should have just.
Are we saying what are we saying? Are we saying the general, like, because people have seen pictures of it, like what it is? That section, should we say it?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay,
I wouldn't.
So the modern-ish section, like, it kind of reminded me of the horror games I played, like Soma and stuff. Like,
I'm pretty sure I already spoiled that.
Maybe. I don't know.
Jake said that
difficult.
It was
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, factory.
Setting, and it's a very sort of, I've heard people compare it to, let's just say, like a gory series of movies, and I didn't get that.
No, I
No.
yeah. like I feel like there's a bit at the start of the game that's similar to that. That kind of, but then people saying that this carried on to that, and I'm like, no, this felt to me more like something like Soma or something like that, like more.
This
like
part
sci-fi kind of style.
This part is where the game starts to go
wild. Yeah, very wild.
When I say off the rails, like I don't mean that in a bad way, because Resi's wild. Like I think old school Resi fans and people that have played all the Resi games know that Resi can get like ridiculous in parts, and then like the newer people and the younger generation who only played like sort of the newer ones, or maybe even have only played 7, it's weird for them for the game to suddenly do like a U-turn and like mad things happen. Unfortunately, that's just what Capcom's like.
This is definitely a game of two halves.
People, and we just need to accept it.
It's a game of two halves.
One
half, which is like the Four Lords, and then from the last Lord to the end, it's just some mad crazy stuff, which I absolutely loved. Some people hated it, but I loved it.
This literally is like, so we'll avoid basically talking about anything further from here, essentially. But this is the defining moment. This is where I've seen people say like they either love the first half of the game, hate the last half of the game, they hate the first half of the game. Like this is very much
you never get both.
Like the Four Lords, I think, is an interesting concept, and I think it could have been utilized a lot better. Maybe not even having 4. Maybe if there would have, to be fair, you could have taken away the Puppet Master and Monroe and just had Lady D and Heisenberg. And I think if you expanded them 2 characters and like everything else that goes on with them, I think it probably could have been a more concise.
I feel like all story. 4 Lords could have been put into the story, woven into the story a lot better than they currently are. Because really at the moment they act as a boss to get the item that you need. And it's like they should be more than just bodyguards of said item, basically. Like they should be more woven into the story. They seem they should really be more important. They're not. It's just like they're there. They're not really that. They're just thrown after once they're done with, apart from maybe one at the end. They're just thrown aside. So like basically that's it. They were there. They were a thing. They were something to get through to get to where you are now. And it's just like don't know if I'm on board with that. Like
the point of them and how they were made and the purpose they serve and all things like that. It's very much throwaway. Like these people could have been anything. They didn't have to be what they are. There's no canon reason like this is why this person turned out like this.
No, there is sort of.
Maybe like there's hints with certain ones, but like it's they didn't have to be as weird and as out there as they were, and it works for some of them. Others, I can see like Heisenberg is the one that I feel
is the weirdest.
The mold the least. Like if I had to say like one of these things doesn't belong, it would be him. But he's the most.
You think one of them who doesn't belong is him.
No, like if we're talking
one
about
of these things is not like the others.
Exactly.
Him.
Like he's the one that feels the most out there, the most different, and I think that, 100%. And again with his section of the game, I think that's they get in there and people are like, this is too weird, it's too different. I can see why people think that bit's the kind of not the worst part of the game, but a lot of people are they don't like that part. They don't like his.
That was one of my favorite parts.
I like him.
I really like that part.
Again, I think it's like it depends which Resident Evil games you played, how much you know about the stories, which ones are your favourite, because there's always been room for stuff to get crazy.
The funny thing,
not in 7, because 7's quite grounded. 7's quite you know what you get in, and it's kind of it's all very similar. Where like other races just go off the rails and there's some stupid stuff that happens, and you just accept it.
The funny thing with this game is like everything gets explained. It's just some of those reasons for certain things of why they are like they are. Just they're weird. They're just out there
somehow. Like Palpatine has returned.
I mean, it's not even like that, because like some of these things legit get explained to you in like stuff you find or whatever. It's just like, okay, you've explained it to me, but I don't necessarily like the explanation.
That's the thing. Like, I feel this game, it lets itself down by having these really good story, like information, background, motivations of characters that you don't get shown. You have to read the notes.
Yeah.
And all the notes are in the last level.
Well, no, like
Yeah.
even for, like, when you're in, so say like the Puppet Master, you get to read little bits about her. You sort of you understand why she's the way she is, and it's to a certain extent by reading the notes. And it's like, well, that would have been better to see, or like they could have
Get a flashback or something.
They put the work in for these characters, and they've got the stories, and they kind of know why they are the way they are, why they sort of gain the powers that they have, because it's all rooted in their histories and who they were before and all that kind of stuff. That's interesting. That's good character building. That's good world building. But if you don't see that note, or you don't read the notes,
thing is, but like looking back in the history of Resi, do you get those explanations outside of notes for everyone else? I feel like you don't. I feel like that's just the staple of Resi, right? Where you get the explanations in notes because it's not in the story that you get to see. And I understand why they wouldn't show you like flashbacks or something, because you're meant to be seeing it from Ethan's point of view. So like he would find the notes, and that's how he would learn about them. Like unless they literally did one of those evil monologues where they tell everyone what their deal is, which doesn't happen. Like, I get why that they are in notes, but it does feel like lazy writing sometimes.
It's them wasting their sort of
potential.
They're good, like they've got it there. They've got really good reasons, good motivations. They've put the work in for these.
Some of them are good. Some of them are a bit.
Some of them are underdeveloped, but you can always kind of
fill the gaps.
It's enough to get the sort of where that character's coming from.
Yeah.
And we can talk more about that like in the spoiler section, but I think you do kind of know the Lord's Gem, you know why they are like they are. You can see why they feel in certain ways about things that's going on and the dynamic between all of them. Like it just needs to be explored a little bit more. So overall, with everything that we said, how did you feel about the game? What's your overall sort of likes, dislikes, sort of summary for the non-spoiler section?
I liked it, but it had a lot of potential that it could have been better than it was.
Agreed.
Yeah. No, I like I've said before, it feels more like
I bought it, which is good.
Yeah, it feels more like a Resi game than 7 did.
7 did, yeah.
But then what I was hoping for would be they mix like the horror and the action together, so it'd be like more of both. But it kind of I feel like they just stripped the horror and just went all action, which Resi games have done before. But it's just like I feel like it had potential to kind of be the perfect mix of both, and it just didn't do that for me.
I think maybe the thought process could have been Ethan's still Ethan. He's read a book. He's a little bit better at shooting. But at the end of the day, he is still an everyday man, a civilian, put in this situation.
Yeah.
And maybe they kind of wanted that to stick in your mind, and they kind of wanted, I wouldn't say horror, but they wanted like the pressure. Yeah, and I think the start of the game does a really good job of building pressure.
Oh yeah.
Because all the Lycans come at you. You've got nothing. And I think that's the part of the game where you feel the most sort of like on edge.
Yeah, until you build yourself up.
I feel this with any Resident Evil game. So I remember when Resi 5 got announced, and the whole thing about Resident Evil 5 was like there was this tagline, or it was
fear in the daytime.
We're going to make you know fear in the daylight, or something like that. And I was like, oh damn, oh that's scary. And then like when you go into the village, and you don't know what's coming, so you do kind of get put a little bit on edge, and then you see the monsters, and you're like, yeah, but I'm Chris, and I've got like a unlimited SMG.
Yeah,
and then we can like
fight, and if you get in the bus, you're okay.
Like,
Yeah,
I think with any Resident Evil game,
Joseph Stalin can't get you in the bus.
once you see the enemy and you kind of know what you're dealing with, the pressure kind of drops.
Yeah.
And the more you get into the game and the more you do your weapons up, you find better weapons. You don't have that, like, you don't have the fear or whatever. You just like bang bang, and it loses its tension. Where 7 kept the tension.
To be fair, like to you saying that, like I do feel like as the game goes on, Ethan becomes less of a little bitch and more like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah.
So maybe that is purposeful, and maybe that just does. That's why it starts off.
That's not just because he's getting more badass at it, it's just because he's getting more tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just can't be dealing with everyone's shit. But yeah, like I enjoyed the game overall. Like I say, I think it's a better Resi game than 7. I preferred 7 overall as a game because I like survival horror. But I enjoyed. I'm looking forward to where the story goes next. I'm hoping that they bring some horror back into the next one.
Yeah.
But not too much. They don't need to do, because like there was a thing where they said they toned down the horror in this because 7 was too scary for people. And I think it was scary, but it wasn't too scary. But like a lot of people couldn't play that game because they felt it was too scary, and I think
a lot of people just need to grow up.
But Capcom have come out and said like they toned it down because like a lot of people got claustrophobic playing that game because a lot of it was like
it's Gemma Collins
in small confined spaces, and I suppose especially if you're playing it in VR, like I get that could be a thing, but like, and then they tried to open this one up too much. Maybe, I don't know. It's an interesting fact that Capcom decided to tone it down. I would have liked to see the version that's not toned down. Yeah,
I enjoyed it for what it was. I'm glad that I'm kind of. I don't feel like I missed out not being able to play it. I liked certain parts of it, and I like certain characters in it. I think it could have been more tied into the originals, and they do like they put a little bit of a shift in. Like
they do tie it in a little.
There's some notes that tie some stuff in. Like if you count that as a good try, a good attempt. It could have been
Resi notes.
It could have been a lot more tied in with the originals. They could have took a bit more of a chance. They could have, like, we know Chris is in it. I think Chris could have been in it a lot more. I feel like there's going to be DLC, very similar to in Resident Evil 4, Separate Ways, where you see what Ada's up to when you're playing as Leon. I feel like they're going to do that.
Where you see what Chris is up to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it would make
because the village does change certain places where Chris might have been.
Yeah, I feel like they would be missing a trick if they didn't do that. It's definitely an improvement on 8.
7. You mean 7?
7, yeah, sorry. I don't know anymore.
Well, they didn't even call this 8. They called it Village, so you know.
So yeah, it is. I think it's a good time. It's enjoyable. Some of the characters are
a good
really
weekend.
Good.
We played it over a weekend. It was good. A lot of people I heard complaining it's short, and I'm like, I mean, it's not a short. Like Resi 3 remake was short.
The original
games have never been long.
No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Like for this, like this is a regular size Resi game, and I'm fine with that. Like too many long games out these days, but even still, like I understand the complaint of Resi 3 remake was short because that was way shorter than this, and this was 10 hours. So I understand that complaint, but this long enough. Like it doesn't any longer, and I feel I say that I do feel we needed longer with the thingies. So maybe like 15 hours. Maybe if they'd gone to 15 hours on average, like that would have been okay. But I mean, I enjoyed it. That's just generally. I do have a few issues with it, but like I feel like it's getting back to being more in line with what we know Resi has been.
Before we move on to the spoiler, Corey called me out earlier so accurately, and he was so right. I said something like, I can't. I was like, it's okay. Like, it's not really. Again, it's not really for me.
You were talking about 7, weren't you?
No, we were talking about this one.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we're talking about 7 and 8's whole vibe in general. And I was kind of like, I kind of wish they were how they used to be. It's not really like my kind of Resident Evil game. They feel a lot like games people made and then shoehorn the Resi bit in afterwards. And Corey said, but when 4 came out, 4 was totally different than anything that come before it, and it's your favourite one. And I was like, you know what? You've just absolutely 100% called me out, and you were right. And it really it really changed my perspective on it. I was like, you know what? That's so true. And if they never tried anything new, if they never took it in a different way, I wouldn't have like my favourite game.
Don't forget, after 6, like I know you enjoyed them, Kate, but like the sales were going down. And people were down on Resi at that point. Like I think they needed to change it up, just to get people interested again. And 7 did that, to be fair. And then without 7, you wouldn't have any of the remakes.
8 is definitely going places, and I hope it kind of just brings us back to again. Like this isn't like all this stuff. It's very much a me problem.
Yeah,
like it's very much a me problem because of how much I love the old ones and the old characters and stuff. Like 7 and 8 are really good games, but I just wanted more. And
Kate, because you quote this to me all the time, and you know, you're always quoting it. You gotta let go.
Yeah, you
Hello,
do.
Ren.
I know. Like this is what, like, Corey said that, and I was like, you know what? Like, that is fair. Like, thank you for calling me out, because you know what? You were right too. And if the way 8 kind of ends and some of the stuff 8 does, I've got hope that they're going to carry on with like the new generation for the newer gamers, but they're kind of going to bring a little bit more of the old stuff for people like me.
What I feel they need to do with the future of the franchise is, you know, and obviously this, well, yes, but this
for me,
the example I'm going to give here didn't necessarily work, but it had the fruits of the starts of something maybe that could have worked without, if they hadn't messed it up. And that's a completely different topic. But Star Wars, when they brought out The Force Awakens, they had the older people in, the older characters, but were echoing in newer characters. Like, they need to do that. They're starting to do that kind of, I guess, with Chris.
Yeah.
Like, they can do that and kind of like pass on the torch slowly, make it a slow process. So you get so the older fans still get that time with their favorite characters, but still get. It's not like Leon was in like whatever his last like 6, and that was his last game, and then we're never going to touch him again. Like, just kind of like, if you're gonna say bye to these characters, kind of like give the players chance to say bye, if you know what I mean. Like
the day that Capcom released the Resident Evil game where Leon like dies, don't even speak to me. I'm gonna have to like call in work and have like bereavement days, so I'm gonna be crying for like 2 weeks. I'm not even joking. Right, so let's
just
move away from spoilers.
Okay.
From the
I was just gonna say, like with the way they're doing it, there's new companies other than Umbrella. Like, they've been there for a while, to be fair, but like there's other stuff like moving on, because I feel like with Umbrella, like, yeah, Umbrella's cool and they can still be involved in some way, but like there's only so much you can do with Umbrella after a certain point. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many. They literally keep doing the same thing, making more bioweapons.
There's only so many. Like, New Umbrella, Neo Umbrella, Blue Umbrella.
There's only so many like new monsters and stuff you can kind of get with that. Like bringing in more different companies with. It's still similar bioweapons, but it's different nanovirus stuff with 7. Like, it's interesting. It's like it's still got the Resi vibe, but it's not necessarily how it all began. It's moving on to something within the same franchise, but a different story. You know what I mean? It's difficult to kind of like put in words without spoilers, but
I know what you mean. Yeah,
there's going to be a bacteria next. I'm calling it.
Like, yeah. It's all, as long as it's weird science. Like, that's literally, for me, like, that's the big pull for Resi.
They've done every other pathogen. They've done fungus. They've done virus. They've done like parasites. Bacteria is the only one left.
Like, just the crazy science side of it is what is Resi to me. Like, always has been. And as long as that, like, DNA is still there, I'm all in.
Right, before we move on to spoiler territory, does anyone want to add anything for the non-spoiler people? Or are we ready to move?
No, I'm good.
We ready?
For those who watch this as a video, Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and let us know your thoughts. And if you haven't finished the game, don't watch the spoiler one until you have.
If you haven't finished the game, you've got to go to bed now.
But yeah, thanks for watching.
Bye bye.
If you like that video, guys, don't forget to leave a like and hit that bell for notifications when we go live or post another video. If you want to see more videos like this, then check out this playlist somewhere around here. And if you would like to subscribe to us, then check out this sexy subscribe button right here. Look how enticing it is. You know you want to click it. And if you're already subscribed, you are an awesome human being.